So you want to become an expert. In this video, we are going to talk about the same things, like 7 phases of becoming an expert in your superpower. We all want to become superpower, and that's what we are going to talk about in 5 phases. Like, what is the step-by-step basis of becoming an expert? How did I'm not an expert. Whatever knowledge I've got, how did I came to that particular place, and how the journey even for you will look? We will talk about in 5, not 7. In 5 different phases. Like, I don't want to overwhelm with so many things, but then this will be like 5 phases of becoming an expert in your superpower. Now, when we talk about expert, it's not perfect. It's not perfection. We are not aiming for perfection, because we are not aiming for perfection. We are aiming for excellence. What am I today? Am I better tomorrow? Am I better than yesterday? That's what the journey is, and how will you evolve to be an expert? So, thank you so much for joining this particular video. If you are a family, if you're already part of the world of artists and scientists, welcome back. If you're new to this channel, welcome to this cool channel where we talk about introvert entrepreneurship, business, coaching system, tools and stuff like that, and all those cool things. If you're not part of the community, there will be a link somewhere here you can join, where we talk about introvert entrepreneurs. How can you find a voice and start making a business? How can you put strategies and stuff like that and join a business, build a business? So the first phase is, the goal is to become an expert. Great. So we start as a newbie. Phase number 1 is we are a newbie now. Newbie is where when you start your journey. For example, you were a professor back in the day. Now you want to teach people horse riding. For example, if you were maths teacher back in the day, accounts teacher back in the day, now you want to teach people horse riding. Great. That has been your passion. Or you want to teach people how do you pet cats or dogs. Crazy weird examples that I'm taking, but then if you just keep a perspective, there's always a way out of it. So how can you become an expert teaching people horse riding? That's the example we are going to use in this particular video. I got it? So when you're passionate about it, but you don't know anything about it, okay? You are passionate about it. Now you're venturing out into it because now you feel there is a potential, there is a people who there's a huge market, and you want to do what you love. Like that's the direction you want to head. Great, but you don't have prior experience. You've got motivation, you've got inspiration, but then you don't have experience in that. You're not an expert. So how do you start that journey? Phase number 1. Acknowledge that you are bad at it. Acknowledge that you're not great at it because you're starting off. So you come into the category of a newbie. A newbie in category of newbie, the phase 1 we are talking about, you are curious to learn. And the goal is you want to make money out of it. Because now, for example, if you quit the job and start doing this, you want to survive. You've got like very little amount of savings, probably no savings at all. The way I started, 0 savings. But I was interested in the potential of it, and I somehow knew I'm great at it, somehow knew I was bad at it, and I also knew that I need to make money out of this one industry that I'm heading into. Phase number 1, you're newbie and you're venturing out into new things. So you should be, and which you shall be anyway, curious to learn. When you're curious to learn, you will decode a lot of things across the path. That's phase number 1. And you are also wanting to make money. Newbie, phase 1. Phase 2, now that you were already curious to learn, what happened is you read blogs, you started implementing things, you started riding the horse, you started falling from the horse, you started knowing what works for you or what doesn't work for you. You started not just learning, but you started implementing and you started gaining that knowledge and stuff like that. Moving on to phase number 2. Phase 2 talks about testing waters. Okay, testing waters. Now, what testing waters means? Now that you've got solid, not even solid, you've got some knowledge, you are 2 steps already ahead than the people who want to learn horse riding. Let this sink in. You are already 2 steps ahead than the people who are wanting to learn horse riding. It's natural because now since you started learning, you're already ahead than them. Now that you are ahead than them, to learn more, and since we are also on the journey of becoming an expert, now what do? You start helping these people out. You start mentoring these people out. You start QQP formula. Queries, they have queries like, if someone takes you as an expert, if someone knows that you know, like you are just 1 step ahead, but then you're willing to help, okay, great. I don't want certificates from you. I don't want so many degrees from you. I just want a fresh hand experience that you have been through so that you can teach me horse riding. Great. That's one part of the entrepreneurship where you don't need experience. You just need experience. You don't need certificates. You don't need degrees of horse riding. Like, I don't care about all those things. I just need you to teach me how to ride an horse, because I just now saw you riding the horse. That's simple. Okay. So second one, you just help me out. I've got questions like how tall should a horse be? What should I be doing? How should I turn right? How should I turn left? How should I stop the horse? Because if the horse starts to just take me along with the horse, like on its mood, how should I calm the horse down? How should I communicate with the horse? Because once you start learning horse, it's a different ballgame altogether. It's not machine. It's not your two-wheeler, it's not your four-wheeler. It's like something that you have to communicate with, something that you have to know, understand, feel the emotions, and get hang of it. I don't know much about horse riding. I know like something about horse riding. Back in the school days, when I was this tiny, I sat once or twice on horse. It's a very nice experience. Just sitting, not even riding, just sitting. Anyways, so you start in second phase, you start helping people out, queries, questions, problems, you give them out, and when you do that in that phase 2, you ask first, like if you have helped someone, for example, for like 2 days. Okay, you have helped someone 2 days for training the horse riding, what should you do, stuff like that. It's all free. Once you're doing that, you get a feedback like, how did you feel when I was teaching you? How did you feel? What did you learn when I was teaching? Just the personal experience. You just need a personal feedback, so that will give you confidence to move on to phase number 3. Phase number 3, now that you have trained a person or 2 people, 3 people, maybe 5 people for free, you don't even charge them, 10 people, they're just getting experience. Now that you're a newbie, you're just getting that experience. Now in phase number 3 talks about, now you have a framework. Now you are the framework guy or the girl. Now you have a framework. Okay. Now framework comes how? Framework comes with patterns. Since you're training like 3 people, 5, 10, 15, you seem to get a repetitive question. My question would be, how do you stop a horse? Okay, my second question would be, if I go back home and if I get a new horse, how should I stop that horse again? Again, there are like 2 different things, but the question is the same. Based on these questions, you will find out a pattern. What other people asking you repetitively, you find a pattern. Phase number 3. We move on to phase number 4. Once you have the framework, once you know the pattern of it, you can create your own strategy based on your experience, not the certificates, your experience, based on what worked for you, what worked out for the few people that have worked, like that you have taught, that you have mentored, that you have coached, that you have taken under mentorship and stuff like that. What has, like, now you start creating a framework. Okay, when you are going on a certain speed, you need to do this so that the horse stops. For example, if you want to design a website, if you do this, then you design a website, it works. When you talk to me, how do you design? When is the right time to design a website? You get your about me first, you get your privacy policy first, you get the refund policy first, you have certain pages ready with you, then you invest in a website. That's a tactical part of it. You need to know the mindset first, then you need to have content second, then you need to get into a system. I've got a framework for, I've got a strategy for it, I've got a framework for it, this how it has to be, and then I have got a strategy, tactical strategy, where it's like, okay, when you do that is when we get here. Strategy based on experience. Phase number 4 talks about strategy. Okay, the more you do it, the more experience you get, and now it helps you. Now this strategy is not just for them, but it also helps you. Now that you have a strategy, you can start selling people that strategy. You can start charging for a 1 hour session or a 1 day session or 2 day session, or creating a course around it. You can start, because now you've got confidence. Confidence comes with conviction, and once you have, like, that's what people can pay you for. Now that you have kind of climbed all the way to phase number 4, strategy time, you can charge people for it. Phase 4. Phase number 5 is based on the whole experience, the frameworks, the strategies. Now, you being the curious learner. What was the third one? You helping people out, you solving their problem. You are all over the place when it comes to horse riding. What do you do with the phase number 5? You create an ecosystem. Now, everyone you've taught, you bring them into a group. You bring them into a community. That's going to be an online community. That's going to be an online course. Now, I gave an example of horse riding, an offline example. You see, it can work where also it can work on an online business. If you want to create something called something for an art business, for example. Okay, you teach people art, you go from being newbie, you test people out. Not testing people out. You become a newbie curious trainer. You go to second phase, you start testing the waters by helping people out. You kind of generate frameworks and stuff like that. Then you create strategies. Then you create an ecosystem where the community breathes on itself. You create so many assets that can be in the form of writing a blog, YouTube video, or a podcast. You create assets where people consume it, where people are kind of consuming even when you are not actively teaching them, actively coaching them, actively participating, actively doing it, because you've kind of created an asset based on the framework, based on the strategy, based on the question that makes your work so much easier, and it can automate, and it's also scalable in so many other things. So 5 phases of becoming an expert in your superpower comes to an end. This particular thing comes to an end. This video is kind of closing right now. Thank you so much for making this video me and the topic a part of your day. Go become the expert of your superpower, and I am going to see you in another exciting video.
يا ساعة الفضاء الرحيب الفسيح سبيل